Okay, 3.1, we're going to do the second page of the notes, and I'll probably do this in 2 videos as well. We're going to first solve it by taking square roots, okay? We can only do this when I have the variable being squared and I don't have just the variable in there. So, sorry, let me zoom back in here. Okay. So, in this case, I have t squared equals 400. So, I want to solve for the variable t. To get rid of the squared, I take a square root of both sides. Now, when you take a square root of both sides, it cancels here, but this makes the positive and negative of the answer, because I could say square root of 400 is 20, okay? But, so 20 squared, equals 400, but so does negative 20 times negative 20 also equals 400. So we actually need the positive and negative of this answer. Now, in the practice, you might see that there's like 2 blanks. Well, that's because you have a positive 20 and a negative 20. I don't care how you write it. This does tell me that there's 2 answers, the positive of that and the negative of that. Or you could just write it separate. For number 5, we need to do some things before we can take square roots. I can't take a square root until what's being squared is all by itself. So I have to add the 19 to both sides. Whoops. Okay. So I'm going to get a 2k plus 3 squared is going to equal 100. Square root both sides now, because what's being squared is all by itself. If I square this side, I'm going to get 2k plus 3. I'm sorry, if I square root it, and if I square root this side, I'm going to get a plus and minus 10. Okay, so this gave me 2 answers. It gives me 2k plus 3 equals a positive 10, and it gave me a 2k plus 3 equals a negative 10. And I need to solve both of these to see what k can be. So in this case, I subtract 3, and I get 7, and then I have to divide by 2. So you get 7 over 2, or 3.5. And in this case, I'm going to subtract 3, and I get negative 13, and divide by 2. Okay, which is also a negative 6.5. So those are your 2 zeros, or 2 solutions to that problem. And again, in number 6, I don't have just a p. Everything is squared or a constant. So I can solve this one by taking square roots. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get all my variables to one side. And I'm going to move this one over to here. So I'm going to subtract 5/7 p squared. So this is gone. On that side, I'm left with a negative 20. On this side, I have a 1 over 7 minus 5 over 7. Gives me a negative 4 over 7, and I still have p squared. Now, I'm not ready to square root both sides because this is being multiplied. P is the only thing being squared, so until I have p squared by itself, I cannot take the square roots. So I need to multiply by the reciprocal of this so that I get p by itself. So I'm going to multiply by a negative 7 over 4 to both sides. These cancel, turn into 1. So p squared is all that's left. And I have a negative 20 times a negative 7, so I know it's going to be positive, and then divide by 4, you get 35. Now if I square root both sides, I get p equals positive and negative the square root of 35. Now, if I could simplify this square root, I would, but at this point, it is done. Can't simplify it anymore.